All right, everyone, and let's please welcome Miss Saniyyah Bilal.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm calling in from New York. As your professor said, I graduated from there. At that time, it was called Philadelphia University, and I was in the fashion industry management program. I did my bachelor's and MBA. I had a 5-year program. A few years ago now, I'm going to date myself saying the year. But born and raised in Philly, live in New York now, and I'm really excited to be a part. I appreciate you guys having me. So a little bit about where I started and how I ended up where I am. It's definitely a lot that my experience includes, but I want to try and be concise and make sure I give the information that you need for your project in class. But my first introduction into fashion was in modeling, and this was about like 2002, excuse me, I believe. And there wasn't a space for really for Black models at the time, especially not a covered Black Muslim model. So I just kept that passion and moved forward with that as more of a hobby and just doing fashion shows and modeling for friends, just in my Muslim community in Philly. And I pursued fashion styling or merchandising. And that's where I ended up at Philadelphia University. My parents didn't want me to go away, and me being the good, trying to be a good daughter, I didn't. So I stayed in Philly, got my bachelor's and MBA, and just went on to pursue a career professionally in fashion styling, visual merchandising, and really had a successful career in that. My one of my like first corporate jobs in the industry was working at Amazon here in New York and at their fashion studio in Brooklyn and as a merchandise coordinator. And then I went on to work at Tiffany and Co. as a project coordinator slash production coordinator, basically helping them plan out and source materials for their visual merchandising spaces throughout their stores globally. I also did some like virtual styling, digital styling, especially during COVID, just to sustain an income. Um, and then on a freelance fashion styling side of it, I styled models for editorial shoots. I did fashion shows as well. So on the other side of it, aside from modeling, I also did fashion shows. I'm going to share my screen as I'm talking to really put what I'm saying to as a visual representation. I lived in LA for a bit and I did styling for movies, for TV shows and video shoots. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We see the Zoom screen right now.
Okay. So this is the movie that I did assistant styling on. This is the preview for it. This is in LA.
I dance as my grandmother danced. It's one of my only connections to my lineage. My identity is shaped by my parents. They come from two very different worlds.
Your mother, she's discovering things.
Summer, put that back on.
You ever thought about maybe temporarily giving in?
You mean like converting to Islam?
No. I think you're kidding me, stop. Come around with it.
You gonna wear that to work? I have finally found something that makes me happy, and you want to mock it instead of maybe learning something. Learning what? How to hide behind scarves and holy passages instead of just saying you want to be accepted for once. I didn't know you got down like that. Photos everywhere. You're a hashtag.
I see some of my young Muslims flaunting their bodies and using Islam as a way to be liked. I say to you, young woman, stop before your photos become actions.
I'm becoming someone I don't know. I introduced her to the truth.
No, it's your truth, Jane. It is your truth.
My mother throws God at me, but I was born to smoke with fire. She was born of clay. I may never see my mom again. She disappeared in a holy book for another day. I know what you did, Summer. We want each other. We both want each other. And religion can't stop that. I'm sorry. I'm a smokeless fire. I'm a smokeless thing. They call him Jin.
You can see this on Prime Video if you want to watch if you're interested. But I wanted to show you this because this was the first major production that I had seen and worked on that really focused on Black Muslims and represented a group of people that I identified with and saw the struggles of being Muslim and trying to balance our morals and our standards, but also just be a regular teenager, being a regular, everyday human being. And it was really exciting to be able to be a part of such an authentic story. And so that was my first introduction to representing who I was as a Black Muslim woman in a styling capacity, and working with a team that was mainly Muslim. And the important part of what I was assisting with was making sure that, aside from obviously the fashion part of it, but ensuring that there was truth to how the characters were dressed and truth to how they were portrayed as Muslims in the production. But to also later into that, a lot of what happens in the industry is you have these non-Muslim characters playing Muslim roles. So you have to continuously educate them on what who we are and what we do and cannot do. So that really is what I strive to do as a model, is create opportunities that are authentic to Muslims and that allow Black Muslims to represent ourselves in the industry. I'm going to share my screen again and just show you some uh, more modeling. Okay, so is my screen still sharing?
Not yet.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Okay, so this is some of my modeling experience to connect with representation in the retail space. So this is my ad for Pierre Moss. This was 2019 I did. And you can see in here this writing that as a Black Muslim model, I was very appreciative of having that space and taking up the space as being my authentic self and having them give me the opportunity, because a lot of what you see in mainstream fashion is Muslims, but they're not of color. They are usually from the Arab world, from the Middle East, and that's usually what you think of when you think of mainstream Muslim fashion. This is from the Marriott Hotel here in New York. This video. Okay. Any Muslim you see there in that one, it's me.
Sun is looking all around when I walk by. I know
Okay, so again, just trying my best to create opportunities and show up as a Black Muslim model in um the fashion industry, but also tying into the retail space. I want to show you guys here just numbers to put to what I'm saying. So in the Muslim community, according to this report, we spend $318 billion on apparel and footwear. This was in 2022. And of course, this is combining the Arab, Asian, Black, all Muslims across various different cultural backgrounds. But the point of this is that we do spend money. We are shopping, but we are not equally being represented in the brands that we are shopping with. And this is like the foundation of the motivation that I have to continue doing what I'm doing, because I know that the market that I represent and that I look like want to see us in these ads in the retail space, because we're there, we're shopping. It's just about creating the opportunity and making sure we're taking up that space so the brands, cast, and agencies can know that we are there. And to add to that, in the Black community specifically, I'm going to just read this aloud. So currently, $1 circulates in the Asian communities for a month, in the Jewish communities for approximately 20 days, and the white communities 17 days. In the Black communities, it's 6 hours. So essentially, what this means is that it takes only 6 hours from the time that Black people get their money to spend it outside their community. So we spend our money everywhere else except within our communities. And that is the disconnect that we have with seeing the growth and the success of businesses, because we are not thinking to go to our Black-owned business grocery stores, our Black-owned business fashion retail stores, our Black-owned business mechanics, for example. And this is where you start to see that the opportunities aren't coming to us, also because we aren't shopping in our own communities. When I saw this number monetized this way, it really was mind-blowing to me. And I think about myself. I think about when I'm planning to shop somewhere or planning to support a business, it usually is not from someone in my community. So on the side of just also creating opportunities of representing myself in the productions in the fashion space, but also being very intentional with how I spend my dollar to align with the success that I want to have for Black Muslim communities. All right, going more into some other opportunities of showing myself as a Black Muslim woman. This is the news channel here in New York.
And she is our polished, classic, super chic.
Wow, that skirt.
Yeah, so that's actually a satin dress. But what I love about it, it has the asim hem, so you could just also wear it as a skirt. You could throw a sweater on over it. It looks like a skirt. So again, it's all about versatility. And then she has the more cropped jacket length, but it would look great with high-waisted pants, with a high leather pants. So a lot of different ways to wear it, super versatile. And what I love about tweeds, they all have multicolors in them.
So again, this is just tying back to creating spaces and making sure that I represent who I am authentically, because growing up, I very rarely saw a Black Muslim woman in any major fashion, any sort of ads, anywhere where I can connect and say, okay, this is someone I represent, that represents me. She looks like me. I can see myself supporting this brand because they are targeting someone who represents my community and my culture. But to really dive deep into the styling aspect of this, for this outfit specifically, it's always the later in, I say modestify, where I have to make sure the outfit is modest to my standards of representing Muslim women. So it was a lot of conversations that I had with the owner here of the company in this like pink coat, with making sure that my legs were going to be covered and that my arms were going to be covered, and that I had the right scarf um to represent the look stylistically, but also fashion wise. So that usually is what has to happen when I am modeling or working on set of a production. I have to always educate on what is modest, on what is not modest, on, bringing various different scarves, bringing like fitted long sleeve shirts, bringing tights, just to make sure that I have a responsibility essentially when I'm doing these type of projects, to make sure that I am staying true to who I am, but that I'm also being authentic to representing a religion, a group of women, a group of people. And I'll go to show you this one here. This was on the TV show The Real in Los Angeles, and here.
Black girls in the area code. These black girls need to be in the shows. Be on the runway, don't just be boys on. But I always do it. Look at your family. Try that. Did you get someone something? But let's go, my nigga, have fun.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, it's really low, but
Yeah.
essentially what I was saying was that from my own Muslim community, we have essentially the Muslim fashion police. And these are um, just women you have in the community who are always judging you by how you look, judging you by what you're wearing, judging you by how your scarf style is. So, going into styling and into modeling, I constantly had this um, uncertainty if it's something that I should even be doing, if I was dressing the right way, if I was going to be judged by my community, if they were going to accept what I was doing. So that is kind of what I was saying there is that aside from having to always like modify my outfits, I always have in the back of my mind if I'm going to be judged essentially for my own community by what I'm doing. But I feel that I know my why behind what I'm doing. And it is really just create spaces for Black Muslim women. And this is another brand here. I'm not going to click into it, but you'll see this is a retail brand that sells Muslim headscarves. And I did modeling for them here as well. So just going through various different opportunities that I've had to showcase how you can create um, spaces for Black Muslim women. And I'll go into this one here. This is, I don't know if you can hear this one. I choose to be visible as a Muslim leader because I want to be different and I want people to know what I stand for, what I want to get. I have a certain set of beliefs. And also, wearing like your dad is a great reminder for me to act a certain way, not be in certain situations. You know what I mean? I love so from that video, it allows me to also sustain like my authenticity as a Muslim woman by just choosing to cover. But I have had opportunities where um industry professionals have said that I shouldn't pursue modeling, that I should you know, do something else, and that the way I'm dressing in my headscarf, my modest dress is never going to get me the success that I am seeking. It was one particular event I was in South Carolina, and it was like this big like modeling competition, and it was a modeling agent from Red Management. I'll never forget that moment, and I was going to each modeling representative to be cast, trying to be casted in their agency. And he specifically said these words to me that you are not going to be successful by looking the way you look. And of course, you know exactly what he's saying by commenting that way. And it was extremely offensive. It was extremely offensive, rude, and disrespectful. But these are the types of people that you still have in the industry that do not want to support or have an open mind to different groups of people, and just don't accept it for their own personal reasons, do not accept it. And it can be very discouraging, but I know that I am doing more good than I am bad. So that is something that I to continue to just move forward and be and just positive and look at the greatness that I have achieved and who I have inspired. Um, and just you see just how from when I first started and the growth that has evolved in mainstream American fashion that has given us that opportunity to work. And I'll go to castings and I'll see various Black Muslim models there. And I'm like, wow, even though we're competing against each other now, but we are starting to take up space and we are starting to get the opportunities to represent who we are. You'll see more just like I was in the airport the other day and I saw a Muslim woman in the airport ad. And I was like, wow, this is something I would have never seen 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Um, So when like 2018, I would say, when the Somalian model Halima Aden really started to become more popular and starts working with brands like Tommy Hilfiger and DKNY, I saw that this is a career that could actually be successful. So that was really when I started to take my modeling seriously, and I moved to New York and got signed to an agency and really started to see a lot of growth. Because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of what happens in the fashion industry is you see a lot of brands working with Arab models and Arab actors who sometimes cover, sometimes don't. They aren't visibly Muslim all the time. So what I'm continuously doing is really trying to create space and opportunities for Black Muslims, for Black Muslim models. Um, Even on the styling side of it, really being authentic to showing how the hijabs, the headscarves are worn, and just being able to have those type of conversations as to how you style it, what do we use, different ways we're able to style it, in a way where someone may not have an opportunity to talk to a Black Muslim model or a Black Muslim stylist to be able to ask those questions so they can know what the standards are and what we're able to do and not do. So it's, as I mentioned earlier, it is a lot of just educating. It's a lot of being open and having conversations. I was on set one time and this makeup artist thought that I had my headscarf on because I was cold. And she was like, okay, it's time to get your makeup done. Like, take off your scarf now. And everybody was on set like, she's Muslim. Like, you didn't know who you were going to be working with today. Like, we sent your information. And again, like trying to not get upset, but just being in a place where I can constantly just educate. And it was a very teachable moment for her. And she realized that that was a very ignorant to not know who I was and what she who was going to be working with. But you have these type of professionals in the industry who just do not know and who may not have talked to a Black Muslim woman or have seen a Black Muslim woman before. But it goes back to that number that we are there. We are spending $318 billion in the apparel and the footwear industry. So we are there. We are, spending that money, but it's just about the representation and the conversation of having those teachable moments with people so they can understand who we are. I'm gonna go into another share
Saniyyah,
my
can you tell them a little bit about what modest fashion means and like
yes.
it's difficult for you to find that, like what those parameters are? And then also, I know you'll probably get to this, but those intersections. So you said a lot of Muslim people are Arabic, and that's what people think of. But then you have, so not only are you a woman, but you are a Muslim woman and you're a woman of color. So like kind of the differences between like culture, race, and religion, and how those affect the way you have to shop and represent yourself as well.
Yes, I always say that I'm like a triple threat being a Black Muslim woman. So I remember my first experience really shopping for modest fashion was at H&M. And it was really hard before then to find modest fashion the mainstream way. So essentially, modest fashion is wearing clothing that is not fitted, that's loose. It for Muslims it's covering your arms, it's covering your legs, or everything's pretty much full length. There's like no cleavage, and everything is pretty like loose silhouettes, loose draping. Some Muslim women choose to wear their headscarves, but you wear your headscarf as well, preferably covering your neck, covering your ears. Different levels of faith have different reasoning behind whether they want to cover or not, whether they want to wear the full, we call abaya or overgarment, which is like the full dress. As you can see, we can wear color, we can wear prints, So there isn't any restriction in regards to that. There are just Muslim women who choose to just not wear color and they want to wear all black. You see a lot of the Arab men in all white. It really is just a preference, really stems from the Middle East, more of a cultural preference and tradition versus it being the Islamic foundation and principle of how we dress. Um, and it from there, that is the baseline of it. In regards to how everyone does it, really varies. But it prior to, I would say like early 2000s, you really did not see modest fashion in American mainstream spaces. Um, there was a brand that had her collection, her scarf collection in Macy's. That was maybe like 10 years ago, and it was just the headscarves, and that was a big deal for as an American Muslim to walk into a major retail store and to see headscarves. I mean, it was something that we never thought would be accepted or introduced into the mainstream American industry, fashion industry. So that was one of the first big steps. And but before then, in the Black Muslim industry, in Philly specifically, because there are Muslims everywhere, Black Muslims everywhere, we were already doing all of this. We already have our communities that have we have fashion shows, we have designers, we have small boutiques, we have all of these things that have been successful and we've been doing it, but it's just that the American mainstream fashion industry is just starting to catch up with it. You have Tommy Hilfiger, you have Nike, DKNY, who now are doing like Nike has the like fitness hit scarf, the fitness hijab, the modest bathing suit, which is basically like a full length like tunic top, basically with like leggings made of just like the spandex swimsuit fabric. Nike has a swimsuit like that with a matching headscarf. And on one end, it is very gratifying to see that the mainstream fashion are creating these pieces for us and making it more accessible for us to purchase. But it also is taken away from the work and the professionals and experienced fashion designers who already have been doing this. So the conversation always is it really just a sense of tokenism where these brands just want to get on board or to what they may think is a fad at this time and just want to market to a group of people who they see is becoming more popular or going viral and just want to be a part of it, or do they authentically want to represent Black Muslim communities? And if they do believe the latter, then it is the question of why not come to those communities where you already have designers that are established, that are educated, that are talented, to give them the opportunity to represent who they work for, who they design for, who they represent, versus taking the inspiration and just making it yourself. So those are the kind of conversations that, we have in our Black Muslim community in the fashion industry, is to say like, what can we continue to do as a group of people in the industry to make sure they know that we're here. But at the same time, not to the point where we feel that we need their validation to say that we are who we are and we deserve that recognition. But it is, as I say, gratifying to know that these brands are representing us, but we have to continue to do the work to make sure they are giving us the opportunities and not taking from us and calling it their own. um and specifically as a Black Muslim woman, the culturally, I mean, identity wise, I always struggle with what really is, a Black American, right? Like what really does that represent? And for me, I really try to lean into being a Muslim woman. And because I'm a Muslim woman, I just happen to be Black, right? And it really is about opening the doors and having the opportunity to showcase my racial background, but really also as a Muslim woman, showing that we don't have the type of restrictions that society thinks that we have in regard to speaking out, in regards to advocating for ourselves, in regards to showing up in color, in prints, in pants, in dresses, and still being authentic to being a Muslim woman. Um, is something that is very, very important to me. But so on the styling side of it, a lot of it really is, as I mentioned earlier, like modifying items, right? So when I'm getting something, is figuring out a way for me to make it modest if I'm not able to get it from a Muslim fashion designer. But on to add to that as well is a lot of times, even though we do have our own communities of Black Muslim fashion professionals and designers, it still is making sure that the resources are there for them to have the marketing, to have the right production facilities, manufacturing to sustain a level of quality that you can get in mainstream American fashion. Um and that is something that is something that we try to continue to improve on, is making sure we are upholding the standard of the fashion industry, of quality, of consistency, because there are times where you're supporting a black a black owned brand and they are just not quite meeting the mark of customer service, of quality. So it's this constant thing of, yes, we are there, and yes, there are brands who get it and who do it right, but still sustain that level of quality across the board, because not having the proper resources. So this kind of bridges the gap of the point I was making earlier in regards to mainstream American fashion brands giving the opportunity to mom and pop small Black owned businesses, because they have the resources and the platform. And then as a Black Muslim designer or model or stylist or actor, you have the skill set, you have the talent, you have the authenticity of representing for your community. So it is just trying to find ways to connect those two and bridge that gap between the community and between the mainstream fashion industry. I want to show you guys a few more things if possible. Does anybody have any questions so far? I want to make sure I'm covering what you guys are working on for your project.
We do have one.
Okay.
She's gonna come stand up and get closer to the mic.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Introduce
you.
yourself.
Hi. Is it on me?
Hi.
No, I don't know. It's like frozen.
It's okay.
Let me sit right
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm Saniyyah. I was just wondering that when you were working as a stylist, were you working primarily with like hijab styling, or was it just anything and that was like sort of what you looked
Thank you for your question. I worked with various different clients, so Muslim, non-Muslim. I'll kind of show you really quickly just some of the things that I did aside from that. But that was the challenge that I had going into styling, was, do I just style Muslims? Am I doing myself injustice by not styling Muslim women only? So you see, I do weddings. I have done like very creative, like pop art kind of stuff. Um, this is like an actor. She was just doing some shoots. So I've done like Muslim and non-Muslim styling. But of course, I prefer to do Muslim styling because I want to represent my people, my culture, the styling that I love to do. So part of it is hijab styling, the headscarf styling. The hijab is a headscarf, is like one industry in itself. You have stylists who just do hijab styling. And because you can do like different types of styles. You can add accessories to it, you can add hats to it, you can add different scarves on top of it. So you have just hijab stylists, and then you have like modest fashion stylists who style the full looks as well. You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Should follow those Instagrams. I actually didn't have that one. I wasn't following that curio styling.
Oh, my Curio Styling one. Yes, that's my fashion one. I'm more active on my modeling one, because I have just like loved doing that and representing Muslim women, like being the face of it. So that was really what motivated me to kind of essentially get from behind camera as a stylist and be in front of the camera and really get out of my shell and start to show up and represent myself. So I'm like, I have a story, I have an identity that I know women, girls can connect with. So aside from just like using my skill to style on screen and on set talent, but also being the talent myself and representing my community. But I'll go back to, are there any of the points, Juliana, that you wanted me to cover or to talk about? I want to make sure I'm getting the information for the project. Okay. All right. So let's just go to some
We
fun
literally
stuff.
live, eat, and breathe this every day. So just
Every
Yep.
I know every single day, but it's so much. So I just want to make sure that I am not going on and on and on a tangent on one thing, and I'm not covering the meat of what you want to get out of me. Okay, so this is another production. It wasn't Black Muslim actors or a Black Muslim story, but it was Muslims, and that is always going to be good enough for me. This was a TV show that I styled when I lived in Los Angeles. Um, it's about a Muslim family. It's about a Muslim family in Orange County and essentially struggling with just being Muslim, being mainstream American, and just finding their place in that society.
Can't hear it.
Everybody's kids are getting married. My kids going to get married.
Job. Work at the coffee shop.
You had a real job at my mechanic shop. The job time says your vehicles are so at times.
I know, and why people make fun of my name. It's just that.
I bet your mom and dad were like drug addicts. And they had us and they were like, no, delete, no pass, no drugs, no history.
Okay, so electronic hookup. I go to charge a battery and send it to
So it was like a wedding.
Not a real basic because I don't speak Urdu, and I'm not a real American because my skin is brown. How ironic, right?
So that has a few different episodes you can see on YouTube. But that was a production that was, I would say, 95% Muslim on the actual production. So the director, the writer, the set designer, obviously me doing a wardrobe, the actors, um, the casting director, 95% of the production were Muslims. So aside from me being able to style Muslims on set, on screen, but also working with a production that were Muslim was just very gratifying and almost something that doesn't happen. And it was just like one of probably my favorite projects to work on aside from the movie here. Another fun one, I style Muslims for I styled Muslims for a Snoop Dogg video. And that is here. I'm going to show you. You'll see snippets of the Muslims in his video. So I met Snoop Dogg, saw that there's some actors in his video. It was kind of crazy meeting Snoop Dogg in LA on a video set. It was like mind blowing. But here you go. Let's do this volume. So I saw him. I saw her.
But I'm so unstable. Been an O2 since I was rocking in the cradle. Y'all don't know that my life is so fatal. Kick a fool down like the homie with the 8-0.
So I just to clarify, I did not style Snoop Dogg. I did not. I styled the Muslim actors in his video that you saw quickly, in the beginning. So that was cool. Someone had a question? I thought I heard someone speaking. So I did that also here back to is it?
So do people like Snoop Dogg hire you to avoid like cultural appropriation? Do they talk about that? Is that what companies, brands should be doing? What's your opinion on that?
That is what brands should be doing because it really is hard for you to represent a group of people or religion if you don't know anything about it, right? Or if you aren't consulting with someone from that group of people or from that religion. And that's what you find a lot when you watching these shows or usually I would say mainly in TV show and movie productions, when you see a Muslim, most likely they are not actually Muslim. Um, and to give us the opportunity, the platform, but also to be authentic, excuse me, it is important to hire us, to go to us, to bring us to these productions, and that is something that I definitely would prefer. And I'm sure others would as well because we are there. You know, there are Muslim stylists, there are Muslim models, there are Muslim actors, even modeling. There, are brands that use models to represent Muslim women in their clothing, but they aren't Muslim at all. And you really wouldn't really know, but it's just the principle of why not give a professional who represents this group of people the opportunity if you're already doing it. So that is definitely something I would prefer. And as I mentioned earlier, just bridging the gap between those opportunities, but bringing it to the communities that have already been doing it and that already had experience. And it could be a matter of maybe they don't know, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they don't know that we are there. I don't know. But also making sure that we are taking up that space and we are ensuring that they do know that we are there. And that is one of the driving forces that motivates me to continue with making sure I find opportunities, I represent myself, and I'm, doing these type of conversations that lets people know that we are here, we're ready, and we're willing to represent and to work, to put the work in and to constantly create opportunities for ourselves as well. So, aside from being able to be called for these A-list productions, but also in the meantime, creating opportunities for ourselves with the resources we do have in our own communities. Does somebody have a question? I thought I heard somebody's voice. Okay. So what I was going to share was this that I did for Instagram. So again, I'm showing the things that relate to retail spaces and relate to shopping, to stay in alignment with the class and the project. So this was for This was a commercial I did for Instagram Shop Live.
Where'd you get that?
Where'd you get that?
Where'd you get that? Where'd you get it? Where did you get that?
So again, this just ties back into that number of $318 billion industry that Muslims specifically spend in the apparel and footwear industry, and just allowing the representation of who we are as Black Muslims catching up to that number, essentially, even though that number is a mixture of various different Muslims within various different cultures. But a huge part of that is people who look like me and come from where I come from. This is Macy's. This is with Jenny Mai. She did a capsule collection, limited edition collection with Macy's. So this is her coat slash dress here that I did for her in collaboration with Macy's. So I don't know who shopped just because they saw a Black Muslim woman, if it's working, if it's not. But I, feel like I'm doing something good by showing up to these opportunities and representing people who look like me. So I hope that it is making a difference. This was another look from her collection that was in Macy's. It was a dress and the jacket. These hills were very painful sacrifices. Very, very painful.
They look
Beauty is pain. What'd you say?
They look amazing. That outfit is stunning.
Yes, it was great. Everything worked out well. I personally just this is the same another shoot from the same another outfit another look from the same day. I personally just don't like high heels. It's just not a preference. I'm on a runway. So yeah, beauty is pain. It is very true. To kind of tie this all together, this here is a Black Muslim woman brand that I model for, and she focuses on like curvier women. So this is the scarf and the outfit are from her brand. It's called Style by Zubaida. That's her first name. It's based in New York. And so as again, just to say we are there, we are talented, we have platforms for ourselves and great opportunities for ourselves. This is an outfit and the headscarf from her brand as well. Again, Black owned Muslim woman brand. So just kind of like to tie all this together that to show visually that we do have well-established quality brands. This is another brand. This pink dress is from her brand as well. It's called Cover Me Cute. She is based out of Ohio. She actually is opening a retail store in Ohio in November of this year. So she works full time and has her business on the side. So good for her. This another this this is another Black Muslim owned brand here. She is a bridal designer, but also does like bridesmaids kind of dresses. So this is a dress here from her brand. I think she's from Virginia. This is the modest swimsuit that I was speaking about. This is another Black owned Muslim woman fashion brand. This is from her company. This is a modest swimsuit. So it's like fitted leggings, like a tunic top that you can swim in. She is based in Atlanta, I believe. Does anyone have any questions as I'm going through this? This is I'm showing this last one. This is another Black Muslim brand. She's based in Philadelphia, actually. This is a more traditional Muslim dress. We will call it an overgarment, or like this is the abaya over it and the garment underneath. and she's based in Philadelphia, Muslim-owned brand as well. It's one of my favorite garments I have in my closet. It's very nice quality. Just want to show you that the Black brands, we exist. We're here, we're showing up and putting in the work. Does anyone have any questions? Anything else you want me to elaborate on?
No,
I was just that good at talking everything through.
I'm requiring you guys to ask questions. Questions? Yeah, Sam? I want to let you know that Saniyyah, I think like maybe 7 years back, maybe 8 years back, it was a while ago, I asked you to come speak to this class. And you did, and you spoke, there was a Muslim woman of color in that class. And you inspired her so much, she is now a model in LA, and she booked Urban Decay. So
Really?
Yep, Khadijah. I don't know if you remember her, but her name was Khadijah. Look her up on Instagram. It's King Khadijah. And she literally followed in your footsteps. She was like so inspired by you. I remember afterwards, she like came to me crying and said that you were like changed her life, and you did. You changed her life.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, it is working what I'm doing.
It is definitely working.
That is such a phenomenal full circle moment. I really appreciate you sharing that. I literally had no idea. What is her Instagram again?
King Khadijah.
I'm sure.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my God, please send it to me. I would love to reconnect with her. That is fantastic. Great for her.
She is
Wow.
amazing.
That is very humbling. I'm so happy to hear that. You have no idea. That is absolutely fantastic.
So which one do you want me to send it to?
You can send it to Hijabi Model. I'm way more active on that one.
Okay.
If no one has questions, I can keep going through and showing like some of the things I've done. You guys want to see some more stuff?
They're saying yes, they want to see some more
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Let's see. So this is just like a shoot I did with my model agency, just to show like different looks that I can pull off. Um, love this one. This is like everyone was like, "Oh, this should be like a Gap ad," and I'm like, "Well, tell Gap to call my people." And then this was Ambi Skincare. I did I was a brand ambassador for Ambi. So actually this was a competition, and I had to get my supporters to vote for me to be one of 5 girls that won from different contestants submitting from across the country. So this was like a year-long ad, like brand ambassador. I did shoots with them, I traveled with them, I did commercials. This is a Black owned skincare company.
Saniyyah, that's so funny because I have my twins doing that right now. They'll be in the top 5 as of Thursday if everybody keeps voting.
Oh my gosh, send it to me. I'll vote because they're so cute. They're super cute. Yes, every vote counts. So that's so funny. Getting them started early.
It does.
This was Runway show I did. Sorry, that's all probably not appropriate for a class right now. But that was a New York Fashion Week show I did a few years ago, and that wasn't necessarily that. So this wasn't so this show, I was literally backstage having like a little fight with one of the designers, not this designer, one of the designers, because she didn't like how I was styling my headscarf. Let me see if I have that look on here. She didn't like how I was styling my scarf. So she wanted me to style it a different way. And I was like, okay, fine. But then in my pocket, I had a pen. And right before I went on the runway, I switched it around to the point where she couldn't change it because I was already like walking. So I was like, haha, gotcha. But the seriousness of it was that I basically had to like argue with her backstage because she did not want my scarf to cover my neck. And I was like, I felt comfortable with my neck being covered. It wasn't like a high neck outfit. And she was like, that's not what I want. It's not the look that I'm going for. And these are the kind of moments that that are my reality. These are the kind of experiences that I have on set. And I have to be comfortable to advocate for myself and not fall into just trying to be agreeable and just saying okay. And then but then on the outside, I'm not representing who I feel like I need to represent authentically. So it's just this constant thing where I have to advocate for myself and be comfortable to say no.
Sanaya, and that look showing like from the elbow down and from the ankle down, is that still considered modest within the religion and the culture?
Which one?
The one that you were just talking about modeling for with the green jumpsuit.
It is. This, yeah, it definitely is. Um, Covering the arms. So this goes into like what someone feels their preference is. I feel confident and okay with covering my arms 3/4 of a sleeve. I'm totally okay with that. There are some Muslim women who may not agree with that, but that for me personally, I feel like elbow down or elbow on up covered is fine. But to do the best thing, the best modesty is to cover from your full sleeve, your full leg. That's like the best thing to do. But just my personal preference, I feel okay covering with the 3/4 length sleeve.
So if a
Um
student is interested in creating a collection for a Muslim woman in general, she could have options they could have options that would show from like midway through the arm down and from ankle. Like they could show from the elbow down and from the ankle down. Like they could have shoes
I
that
would
can show the skin, and they could have dresses or tops that show some of the skin on the arm.
Um, yes, on the arm. So long as the sleeve is like 3/4, like it covers like right below the elbow, so like in between kind of the elbow and the wrist. That's fine, but I would say full length is for the from the ankle, covering the ankle is better, is more authentic. You will see, especially now in the social media age, influencers and models and Muslims in the mainstream social media world doing like midi length or doing super like fitted things. And again, I think we have a responsibility to say that this is my personal preference. If I'm choosing to wear something that's like sleeveless, for example, or that's to my knee or that's fitted, that's something that I am doing that is not authentic to how Muslim women are supposed to dress. And I think that is how the miscommunication and misunderstanding of how Muslims are supposed to dress, because you see girls doing this, but they aren't explaining that this is my personal thing and I am straying away from the traditional way of dressing that I'm doing. So what I'll say to you is that yes, the 3/4 length sleeve is acceptable, but the full length is definitely more authentic than doing like a midi or something like that, for design wise.
Interesting. And then basically because that is your preference, do you find yourself styling more towards the completely traditional route? Or do you think, I can style them with that little bit of leeway, because it's still acceptable and that's my preference? Do you find yourself styling more to your preference or the tradition?
I try to keep it at a sweet spot, because clients do want things that may not be my preference, but still making sure it is in the realm of authenticity to Muslim women. So I try to stay in a sweet spot. I definitely am not going to style something that's like to the knee or that's like cleavage showing for a Muslim woman, who's covered. There's a Muslim woman who is covered. That's not something that I would do. Now, if there's a Muslim woman who's saying that, she's not covering, with her headscarf, when I say covering with her headscarf, and she's okay with, with that, then that's something that I have to adhere to, because that is a preference that she is okay representing. Um, But when I'm speaking about like the full length dresses and the longer sleeve, it's more for like a covered Muslim woman to match with her headscarf and then with her dress. Because imagine how odd it will look if you have a headscarf on and you have on shorts, right? It doesn't align, it doesn't match with what we represent. So that really is who I try to target and who I try to represent. But I mean, it's the same thing with, in Judaism and Christianity, you have Hasidic Jews, you have more liberal. So you kind of have, all different sorts of levels. You're trying to just find a sweet spot. So you're still being authentic, but still creating your own like unique flair and style to it. I know we're at time, but if anyone has any other questions, afterthoughts, let me know. I'm, trying my best to be open book and just educate and talk. So I'll put up my Instagram one last time for everyone to see, to follow me, to engage. Like I said, if you have questions after the fact, let me know. And yeah. Oh, that is not what I wanted to
I
do.
sent you Khadijah's info on your messages.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely connect with her because that is like absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
I hope I inspire someone from this class today.
absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate everyone.
Thank you, Saniyyah. We so appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. And yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll send you the video.
Okay, thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay.